Hi everyone, today we have a new reading journal update where we are first going to talk about some books I've read recently and then we'll set up the second quarter cover spread together. My reading goal this year is 20 books and I only read 4 in the first quarter, which is not the best start to the year, but also nothing that can't be fixed in the next few months. Anyway, let's get started with the first 3 books I read, which are all from the Throne of Glass series I finally started at the start of this year. I decided to do a combination spread with all of these, so I printed out a bunch of pictures from the internet and I will set up these pages while talking about my reading experience. So this one has been on my to-be read list forever. It has great reviews and I've also gotten this recommended to me so many times by you guys. In January, I felt like there was a lot of hype around Sarah J. Maas since her third Crescent City book came out, and it also made me want to finally start reading something from her again. I read the ACOTAR series 3 years ago and I really liked it. That was actually the series that got me into reading again. So I also tried to compare these 2 series a little bit. So The Throne of Glass is this long fantasy series that starts with a girl who's the most deadly assassin in the world. The first book barely scratches the surface of the whole plot and world that opens up a little bit later, but I still really enjoyed it and thought it was the perfect introduction without being boring in the slightest. I think the biggest reason that made me postpone starting this series is that it's labeled as a young adult, or at least the first few books are, but apparently it evolves into new adult later on. I was also worried that it wouldn't have enough romance, but that's just not the case. The only reason why I would call this a fantasy with romance and not romancy or fantasy romance is that it would do a disservice for this series as a whole. So this is definitely one of those fantasy romance books where the world and storyline outside the romance completely stand on their own and take the lead actually, which in my opinion is often not the case with the modern romancy genre. So this is so much bigger, it's better, and with a strong female lead who doesn't need a man to save her, and it still has plenty of romance, so don't let that stop you from reading it. And about the young adult aspect, I do wish that all the characters in this book were like at least 5 years older. I think it would just make everything a little bit more believable, but other than that, it doesn't feel that much different from the new adult books I've read. I think my biggest problem with ACOTAR was that I didn't really like the main character that much. I found her a little bit proud and annoying, and even though Selena in Throne of Glass is also quite full of herself, I still like her so much more. I actually think there are so many amazing characters in Throne of Glass, especially in the third book. I think the third one has been my favorite so far. It's a little bit difficult to talk about any of this story without spoiling it much, but I feel like the world really expands in the third book. It's also a little bit different from the first 2, and it took me a while to get started just because everything changed quite rapidly, but after a while I was back at it and really enjoyed the ride. In general, I really understand why everyone hypes this series. I really liked it. I'm not sure if I would put this over ACOTAR, at least yet, because I'm still kinda in the beginning of the series, so I'm really excited to see how everything will evolve in the next 4 books. I don't know if I ended up liking this layout I chose for the spread that much, which is kind of a shame since it's such a special book. So I think I'll come up with something different for the other books in this series. But anyway, after writing these big titles, I decorated the pages a little bit more with some of these stickers I recently got from Ikikai Papir. Heda from Mochibujo kindly sent me a ton of her beautiful stickers, which I'm so grateful for. So I used some of them to decorate the book spreads this time. There are spoilers in my book notes, by the way, so please don't read them if you don't want to know anything. But now that this whole 3-book layout is done, we can move on. It's been a while since I've read 3 books from any series in a row, and I would have been fine to continue to the 4th one, honestly, but I thought it would be better to have a small break and change the genre for my own sake, and also to have something else to talk about for this video as well. So let's jump to the 4th book I read, which is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. This is an old school murder mystery where a family gathers in a ski resort and then people start dying. It's the type that gives you all the clues but still manages to surprise you in the end, which is a genre I really love. The name of the book paints it quite sinister, but this was actually quite fun and cozy. Perfect for those of you who would like to read some murder mysteries but find the gruesome thrillers nowadays a little bit too heavy. So I really enjoyed the setting and the plot and the ending especially, but the only thing I didn't like so much about this book is that it has this Dear Reader style writing. So it's one of those books that recognizes it's a book, which is definitely funny at times, but I'm still not the biggest fan of this style. I found that it sometimes took me out of the story or removed some of the suspense, but again, it definitely added to the fun, cozy aspect, so I guess some of you would really love this style. But anyway, this was a fun, pretty quick murder mystery that was able to surprise me multiple times, which is exactly what I was looking for. But that's it for the books I read in the past few months. I know this is maybe not as many as other people making these types of videos, but I hope it's a little bit more realistic for those of you who have a very limited time to read as well. But anyways, now what we have left is to set up the next cover spread for the 2nd quarter. And here I wanted to use stickers from another fellow YouTuber shop. So these are by Cherries. I bought them myself and they are so beautiful and came wrapped in such a stunning package. I love her girl sticker style, and this time I chose to use some of her bookshop collection stickers together with a few of my own spring collection products to create this light, flower-heavy spring cover. I only set a cover every 3 months in my reading journal, so for each quarter of the year, which works for me perfectly since I only tend to read around 4 to 6 books in that time frame. I sometimes get questions about how I come up with these scrapbooky layouts, so I'll try to walk through my formula a little bit better here. So first of all, I think it really helps to limit yourself to only a few colors or a certain collection of products to avoid going overboard. Then I usually start by adding some paper to the background. These can be solid papers, something with a little texture, or some full-on patterns. After that, I usually print out or find some suitable pictures from my already existing collection. So this time I chose some springy pictures with these pinkish or neutral colors. Then I spend a good while arranging everything on the pages, which is something I often cut out or at least shorten in these videos. And then lastly, I like to finish things off with stickers, washi tapes, or any other smaller decoration pieces to fill in the space and balance things out. I wanted this bigger girl sticker to have a lot of focus on this spread, and then I left room for the 2nd quarter title and a TBR ideas box where I'm gonna write down some reading ideas for the next season. I also wanted to use this book to word sticker I've printed out a while ago, and then filled especially the background of this spread with some of these cherry blossom stickers. But anyway, when it comes to my 2nd quarter reading plans, while editing this video, I've already started to read the 4th book in the Throne of Glass series, and my goal is to hopefully read the whole rest of the series by the next reading journal video. It's probably gonna take most of my time, but I still added a few standalone books here if I feel like changing things up. I can't imagine myself wanting to start another fantasy series while still being in the Throne of Glass world. So I listed 2 romance books, like The Far Horizon, which is the last book of a pirate romance series I've really enjoyed. Then For Her Consideration seems to be a fun contemporary romance novel. I also listed 2 murder mysteries or thrillers like Recursion, which was also on my list last time, and The Housemaid, which I'm really intrigued by as well, since this is really hyped on Goodreads. And then the last book I listed is Blood Over Bright Haven, which is a standalone dark academia-style fantasy novel that also has a really high score and amazing reviews. If I don't get to this one in the next quarter, I definitely want to read this later in the year. So that's all from my second quarter reading journal planning. I think this cover ended up maybe being a little bit heavy with decorations, but I still liked all of these pieces together. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video and maybe found a new book that interests you. I'm also on Goodreads if you want to see short reviews of the books I'm reading and lists of everything I've been recommended to. But I think that's all for this time. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye!